Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Red Show. This is episode number 2. Of course, I am joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Reece. Of course, this is, like I said, the second episode. We are trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before New Year's Day, and hopefully 900 before the end of September. So please go subscribe if you're new, hit the like button, show us, comment if you think any of our opinions are shite. As well, please get some... Please go get some of our merch. We just dropped some brand new merch a couple weeks ago that's been absolutely fantastic. Please go and get some if you feel like supporting the channel in multiple different ways. Reece, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. Obviously, the home nation's playing tonight, so is the nations in my heart, like Germany and Italy. So it's going to be quite an interesting weekend. Obviously, we've got Soccer Aid, so it's a weekend of football. But to be fair, in terms of just me, I'm good, thank you. I'm just glad it's been a quiet day, and I hope it stays that way. How about you?
Doing all right. Hopefully, we can sit and have. Hopefully, we can have Scotland take 3 points away from Moldova and take some good running into our last game against Austria, because I really think we should be taking 6 points out of both of those games. But we'll just have to see. But yeah, I'm doing good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. And we just got to run with it, because that's the name of the game, and that is what the Red Show is all about. So
yeah. But yeah. So first thing we'll talk about, of course, is the newest news, which is, because of injury, Jadon Sancho is on his way back to Manchester, which is a little bit worrying, if I'm being honest. I do like, now with Ronaldo coming in, that we have another player to possibly come in and play that game if he can't play it. But it is also very worrying to see him leave for one game to go to England and coming back now with an injury.
Yeah, it doesn't help. It's a young lad playing for a country that, to be honest, I don't particularly want to win. But and that's personal reasons. It's just I'm Scottish. It's just natural. It'd be the exact same from an English perspective to me, which is okay.
I'm the exact same way.
I'm all for accepting it. I've got no issue with that at all. If I don't want you guys to win, you don't want us to win. I'm all for acceptance. It's just rivalry. But
yeah, from
a Man United perspective, obviously, it's a shame that Sancho is injured, but at least he will be rested up in time for our game. I heard it's only a slight knock, so it's nothing major. It's just a matter of resting. So we'll see how it favours for us in general.
Yeah, and then, of course, we move on to the other big news drop this morning, which didn't really, I think, come as a surprise to any of us. It may have come as a surprise to some, but of course, Mason Greenwood being voted the United Player of the Month for the month of August, which, you could have seen that possibly going to Pogba as well with the assist, but 3 goals in 3 games, you kind of just got to, tip your hat to the lad and say he's done well to deserve it.
Yeah, he deserves it. I'll be honest, I think the one that deserved it most was Pogba. I think Pogba was our overall best player of the month. I think the simple fact of taking the game head on himself and how he's dictated games in his own unique way, he deserved it more than Greenwood. But Greenwood, rightfully so, in his own mind, he deserved it because his performances have been consistent and the 3 goals show it. He just keeps adding to his game, whether it's 1x1, 2x2, or even a hat-trick. I'm not particularly fussed. He just needs to keep his head down, which he's always doing, and we see where it goes. But for me, I think the player of the month should have been Pogba, personally.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you. I do think Pogba deserved it. Pogba, starting off with the absolute blazing start he did, I think it kind of is a little bit of bias, of course, Greenwood being the young lad and Pogba kind of having the whole controversy all summer. Even now, a little bit of controversy with him. So I can see why a lot of people voted for Greenwood over Pogba. But I think Pogba does deserve it, but it's very close, and it's not like, Fred got it instead of, Pogba. It's someone who, even in Greenwood, still definitely deserved it because he definitely had a very good August.
Yeah, he certainly had a good August. Yeah, he's made up for it, and he's carried on because he had a particularly good pre-season as well. That rest not going to Euros has certainly done him a great steed, which I'm happy for.
Yeah, and hopefully, we get. And then, of course, talking about, being able to rest, we do have a nice bit of rest going into our game against Newcastle. Of course, it looks like not only we're going to be getting Ronaldo coming in from his isolation, but it's sounding like McTominay is also going to be back from his groin injury that he had to get operated on. So who do you think? Who do you really see playing this next weekend against Newcastle?
I don't see a lot of changes. I think maybe just 1 or 2. I think Pogba may stay in the pivot position as people now refer to as a double pivot or whatever you want to call it. I don't particularly care. Although we have been using the 4-3-3 in behind closed door games, it could be our first league game where we play 4-3-3. So I think what we might see McTominay in that defensive midfield role on his own, which personally I would prefer somebody else. I don't think he's ready for that position, but he's certainly capable. But in the hindsight, I think he will play the number 6 role, and I think Bruno and Pogba will start ahead. And then I think up front we'll see Ronaldo. I think you'll see Ronaldo make his second debut. I think Ronaldo will start up front. I think Sancho start left wing, and I think Greenwood will start on the right hand side. That's what I think. Is Marcus Rashford still not back yet? It wouldn't surprise me if we did that. So yeah, I'm going to go De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw, typical fullback pairing, which makes sense. Centre-back partnerships, Captain Maguire and Raphael Varane. And McTominay as defensive midfielder, starting in behind Bruno and Pogba together as a pairing. And then front three, Ronaldo in the middle, Greenwood on the right, Sancho on the left.
Yeah, and I know you and I talked about this off camera yesterday in the chat where we were kind of talking about, teams that we could rotate against.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very much yes or no. But I think Newcastle, especially with their run of form recently and how their summer went with their club having to release a statement just to get their fans to stop, trying to riot against the club about their transfer window. I think this is a team that definitely is one we could try and not only, I don't even think rotate, but try out that 4-3-3, especially with someone like McTominay being that holding midfielder. I think this is kind of the perfect game, very start of the season, coming off of a scrappy win against Wolves, against a team that's not been doing very well and is kind of being penned to either be just outside of relegation or in the relegation zone come the end of the year.
I prefer McTominay in the box to box. Obviously, I'm Scottish. I'm Scottish by birth, even though I do have Italian. I do have Italian blood, man. I do have German as well. But I've always been consistent of McTominay isn't that sort of player yet. I think maybe in the latter stages, like 28, 29, latter stage of his career, we can look to develop into him becoming a defensive midfielder. But I like how, because of his frame, his power, his ability to carry the ball, and he can deliver a good long pass as well, like cross balls. He can do that. I prefer him being further forward than I do in that holding role. But if the manager sees him as the holding midfielder behind, my best bet would be Pogba and Bruno. I think that gives us a lot of coverage because he can roam in front of that defence, and he can just simply pass the ball and he can break up play if he wants to, and he's press resistant. He's certainly useful. I would probably put in maybe, and I know a lot of people write him off, but if he just keeps things simple and he doesn't overthink, Fred could work in there. So could Matic if you just keep it nice and simple.
I think Matic could be a person where literally we have that whole transfer of with the fullbacks go forward to go and join the attack, and Matic kind of drops back and joins where Maguire, Varane, and Matic are kind of in a 3-man line at the half line, so that if a counter does happen, we at least have 3 guys. And I think it's a lot easier for us to try and do more attacking with the 4-3-3 now that we have Varane, because he does bring a bit of pace that we did not have with Lindelof, and we have with Bailly when he's healthy and fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that brings coverage. But yeah, I'm going to go De Gea and net. Of course, like you said, our typical back line of Wan-Bissaka and Shaw with Varane and Maguire, you can't rotate those guys. They're just all 4 of them have been absolutely phenomenal, and they're going to continue to be absolutely phenomenal. I do see McTominay getting thrown into that 6. I am like you. I am Scottish, and I've watched him play, and I do think he's more of a box-to-box, someone who is very good going forward. And, of course, him coming out of the academy as a striker, I know his shooting ability, and we saw it last year with all the long shot goals he had last year. So maybe this turns into something where he may go forward more, and you may see someone like maybe Wan-Bissaka drop back a little bit more and be a little bit more defensive if he does go forward, to kind of like swap those 2 out, because we know that McTominay can unleash him from long. And then, like you said, I do see Bruno and Pogba, and then, of course, the front 3. I don't think Cavani will make his season debut just yet. I do think it'll be very soon, probably as a sub this game, but I think, like you said, front 3 will be Greenwood, Ronaldo, and Sancho across that front 3. Mm-hmm. And I think that just, against a team like Newcastle, which only really brought in Joe Willock and is not very solid defensively, they have a very good keeper. Newcastle's keeper is very solid. Yeah. But that defense with that pace and the interchanging of the front 3, because all 3 of them can play all 3 forward positions, You have Pogba and Bruno supporting, which is two of the best players in the league. This could easily be a game that we just run away with real quick.
I don't think we're going to see the typical interchange in forwards this time. I actually think you're going to see one player stick to his overall position and two players are just going to make the changes when necessary. I think you'll just see the two wingers make changes, not the centre forward. I think Ronaldo will stick to the middle, but if he has to go to the left or the right to pick up a ball coming to him, he will. I don't think he's going to be roaming left unless he's starting there when Cavani starts in the middle and then they two swap around. I don't see any of that. I think it'll just be whoever's starting the wing positions will be the ones that make the rotation. Ronaldo's going to be simply a pure centre forward for us, which is going to be frankly good enough because we've got Ronaldo, Greenwood, Cavani, whichever one starts there doesn't really bother me. We've got the ability to make rotation and actually make it work this time rather than just hope for the best.
And of course, this will break any Irish fans' hearts watching right now, but we have, of course, seen Ronaldo's heading ability recently, how good he is getting that ball in the center and heading it in. So, yeah, I think it is better if he doesn't go anywhere because especially with Shaw's crossing ability, Wan-Bissaka, I think, is getting there. His crossing ability is getting better. It's not at the level of someone like Luke Shaw or Bruno Fernandes or, our top crossers, but it's getting better.
As well, to be honest.
Dalot as well has a very good cross. But with someone like Luke Shaw, I think it's a dream for not only Ronaldo having someone like Luke Shaw at fullback who's able to whip in those crosses to him, but it's a dream for Luke Shaw to be like, I can now send in these headers, and I've got Ronaldo, Greenwood, and Cavani all going to be sitting in the middle for me at any game. And I think, I think, like you said, we'll see the wingers interchange because, that kind of swapping around always happens during games. I do think Ronaldo stays middle.
There's also a chance that we might see Pogba play left wing, Greenwood or Sancho on the right, and then Ronaldo up front. But what you could see is in that midfield, you could see you could see Bruno, playing beside Van de Beek and McTominay in that defensive role.
I wouldn't mind that either.
There's so many options that we've got where we really need that cemented spine where at least 6 or 7 players have got to start, and then you've got like 3 or 4 can make rotation, which I'm happy with. We've got, as long as we have a core spine of players that will play pretty much every game, then that gives us good balance overall for the rest of the season. For we know who's going to be centerfold and we don't have to worry.
And I think especially going into the fact that Tuesday, literally, people seem to forget because it's so weird that it's already upon us. 3 days after we play, we're in Switzerland for our first Champions League match. Mm-hmm. Is this a game where really, with Sancho coming in with a knock, even if it's a slight knock, this is a game that we really should be playing him in? Do we really need to? Or do you kind of think maybe rest him, throw Pogba on the wing, bring in Van de Beek as that person to partner Bruno, and save Sancho to be that person who's going to be fully rested and fully fit for Switzerland?
Could do that, and I think that would work as well. Either option suits me perfectly, just as long as we don't waste it. If we can make it count, it'd be great. And then if Sancho's fully fit coming into young boys, then no problem. At least we know we've got his exceptional qualities that can just take us to another level, which is perfectly fine, especially on a European night.
And especially, of course, with young boys. I do think young boys will be when we see a ton of rotation, as we do have, West Ham on the weekend. And then, of course, we have the third round again against West Ham. We play West Ham twice, and of course, about 4 days.
Mm-hmm. Cup and league, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, third round cup tie is actually on my birthday, so I really hope we beat West Ham in that cup tie.
Then we play Villa, which is going to be an interesting test.
Yes, they will. That will be honestly a very good game. But I honestly see young boys being a big rotation day. I see Lindelof possibly coming in. We've seen now on Instagram, Tellez hinting at him returning very, very soon from that ankle injury. So could we possibly see a big rotation of Lindelof, Tellez, maybe even Dalot coming into that team against young boys, probably seeing...
I would be okay with that. I would honestly be okay with that. I wouldn't have a problem with that, where you can make those key rotations, like Wan-Bissaka, Shaw, maybe Varane or Maguire, whichever one drops out for Lindelof. That's 3 players that we can actually then use in the league game, where we can go, we're actually using the so-called weakness that Solskjaer doesn't make. He doesn't trust his bench. He doesn't trust his squad. Here's a good chance to prove them wrong, where he's actually using players more and effectively, where he goes, right, well, I've actually used my squad, so you can't actually moan at me about it. It's a smart decision to make, and we could certainly see that. We could also see Ronaldo playing. We could see Ronaldo playing in the league, and then maybe Greenwood or Cavani
Cavani
start
even
up
taking
front.
his full start.
Yeah, Cavani or Greenwood making the centre forward option the young boys game, and then the following game after that, we would see like the Villarreal game. You would see Ronaldo playing up front in that game because it's Spanish opposition. It would certainly be useful. Like we can use that squad more than what many people expect. I think he wasn't going to make many changes because we're only playing one game a week. You don't have to, but because we're coming at the business end where it's going to be the start of the business end where it's September onwards, where you're playing more than one game a week. The squad's going to be used and it will be stretched to a degree, but you're not going to see like so many players play all those games that they did last year. They will be rotated better this year. I think Maguire and Wan-Bissaka especially will be looked at. Maybe Bruno Fernandes, we'll see.
Yeah, and I think
But
it's
nobody
nice
can moan.
because we'll see with the 3 new.
I think Connor's internet dropped there. Accidents happen, folks. But I think Conor is just what he was literally going to say is the combination is important.
Uh-oh, knocked myself off the screen real quick.
Accidents
But
happen.
always, it's not the Blue Podcast if something's not gone wrong at least once. But what I was thinking is, could this be a game? And like you said, with these new 3 players, this brings in so much chance for rotation and constant rotation because the 3 players that are on the bench now were all first team players last year.
Yep.
So he can easily trust them because he played them as first team players last year. Cavani, Lindelof, Tellez. These were all players that he played a lot last year. And honestly, if I'm being real, I want to rest as much as possible during that Young Boys game. I think Young Boys is a team that we can do rotation where, say we bring in, like you said, Dallo, Tellez, and Lindelof. We may bring Matic and Fred into that midfield, to rotate out Bruno. I think Bruno comes out for Donny van de Beek. I think Donny may play 2 games. If I'm being honest, if I'm the manager, I'm playing Donny 2 games in a row. If Pogba's playing on that wing to give some rest to Sancho for the Young Boys game, I'm playing Donny 2 games in a row. And then one game that's giving Sancho rest because Pogba's going to go forward. The second game is giving Bruno rest because he'll slide into Bruno's spot. And then honestly, if I'm trying to rotate and have freshness, I'm putting Anthony Elanga on that left side against Young Boys.
That works. That does work as well. That does work as well, and I'd be all for it.
The front 3 of Elanga, Cavani, and Sancho, front 3, all fully rested, I think is still a deadly attack against a team like Young Boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as long as we get the right choices and we choose the right system that matches the players to a degree, it should be fine. We need to keep one thing as well is the Portugal game where Portugal were absolutely shite against Ireland. They were shite, but Bruno got subbed in that game. He didn't have a bad game. It's just the same sort of space that him and Ronaldo were in. We can't afford that in the league games. They shouldn't be in the same sort of spaces. We're going to have to make sure Bruno stays as a 10 and drop back. Let Ronaldo have the attacking position, which suits him.
Yeah, I just think having those 2 kind of players where both are very good at making their own shots, making their own chances, they can't be occupying the same space, and having them together just is not going to work.
Yeah, I
agree.
agree.
We can have them separate. I think what you really need to do is kind of just tell Ronaldo, like, it's great if you can get back sometimes defensively, but for the most part, stay forward. Stay right below that half line. And like I said, this Newcastle defense is not very strong. If he can set at that half line and say we get that ball and counter, you could easily see him just take off and just a nicely played ball from the bevy. We have so many players who can deliver a pass like that, like I want, where you can see Pogba doing it, you see Bruno doing it, Shaw, Maguire could even hit that probably.
The most effective passer though is definitely Pogba.
Oh yeah, if you get Pogba on that ball over the top to Ronaldo, who's definitely going to outrun any of these midfielders or defenders from Newcastle, and he's away with the one on the goalie, and with Ronaldo, it's Ronaldo. He's going to put that in the back of the net.
I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets close to a hat trick against Newcastle.
I think this is the
only
perfect
club
game.
He scored in the Premier League with a hat trick.
I think it's a perfect comeback for him because, like I said, it's not a very strong team. I think it's just got all the makings to be a very good game that United fans come out of it going,
I agree with you.
That's what we wanted this year. Especially being at home. We're in Old Trafford. You know how crazy we know how crazy it's get. The gods that are that Indian family are back in the stands. Ronaldo is back home. This just has all the makings to be a Cinderella year where we go on and do some good damage. And I think a big result against Newcastle will kind of show our intentions to the league that we are back, we're here, and we are not going to be sitting down and taking it lightly this year.
I agree. I still think we've got a good chance of winning something big. I know people are going to call us delusional, or you're being absolutely naive and stupid by saying, "Oh, you're going to win the league, or you're going to win the Champions League win." But why does it have to be an exception for Man United fans who want to win the league, but for every other fan, like a Chelsea fan, Liverpool, or Man City, for them it's perfectly okay. But for Man United, it's no, like you're just full stop. Man United are not winning the league. I was like, well, the season's only 3 games in. We've not lost a game yet. Man City have lost a game.
Yeah, Southampton wasn't a great game, but we didn't. It's not like we lost it.
Exactly. Like, there's no. Don't write Man United off so easily just because we're not top of the league or we're not playing our best form. Like, just because we're not playing our best form doesn't mean we've not lost a game yet. Like,
yeah,
it really is annoying.
We're getting in. We're getting into the game. We have people coming back from the Euros. I think that definitely, kind of like last year, where a lot of players didn't get we didn't get a preseason last year. I think we kind of seen the same thing happen with the Euros, having so many players come back from the Euros. I mean, most of our first team squad, we're Man United. We have so many good players that most of them were coming back from international duty, and some went very, very far into that tournament.
This is why it's good that this is why I think it's brilliant that we've been doing a lot of these behind closed doors friendlies, because we're still getting fringe players up to speed, and we've decided to use a new system instead of the favoured system. We've went with a 4-3-3 and we've actually made use of it. Yeah, we didn't win the game against Stoke. We lost that game.
But it was like Greenwood and all of our under 23s. And if you're talking about trying to get, I know a lot of, like, you and I are both big on the academy. We both love watching the academy and are very knowledgeable about it.
Yeah.
It's so huge for the players that aren't going on loan this year to get these kind of behind closed doors games where they're still facing first team English side competition. Because Stoke, I think, they're championship this year, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
So that game is basically like it would have been if they were going on loan. If like Chong at Birmingham or, Garner going back to Nottingham Forest, they get this kind of game to really test their skills against a side that is exactly who they'd be facing if they would have gone on loan this year.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We can only take as much as we can. Like, we can only go as far, but we'll see. It's just about taking the right chances, and if we make it count, then we make it count.
Yeah. Well, trying to keep it nice and short makes it a lot easier for people to watch if we're not blathering on for an hour. So with that, I think we'll save most of our young boys discussion for next time, or the next time we see each other, we'll probably be talking about the West Ham game coming up as well. But that is all for the Red Show episode 2. If you have featured in today, please hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our 8 or 9 shows that we have running across this entire channel. And of course, like I said, we have brand new merch. Go and get it if you want, and if you want to support the team in many ways. And I will say this: up Scotland. Thank you.